What's up, guys? This is Chris C. Pup Surratt bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, of course, we're going to do some updates on the California wildfires, talk about some car situations in the wildfire as it pertains to some classic car collections that some gentlemen had that they either saved or didn't save as part of the California wildfire. We're also going to talk about Norway and as they venture forward to a fully EV market and going all electric before anybody else. And last but not least, we're going to talk about Biden as he finishes up his presidential duties by doing certain things to make sure that China is not destroying us. Let's check it out. All right, so first off, of course, we're just going to, check out some, updates on the California wildfires. They are still going. Still lots of people without homes, evacuated. Still lots of places that are under duress from fires. So let's check out a quick update on what's going on, and we'll dig into some automotive stuff after that.
Hello and welcome Inside Weather Command. I'm Stephen Morgan.
And I'm Jane Menard. Thank you for joining us. It is Wednesday, January the 15th. Halfway through the month, halfway through the week, and we've got big stories pushing across the country today. First, let's start in California, right? We've had a brief reprieve in the strong Santa Ana winds, but they are once again picking up today. Yesterday, during the afternoon, the winds didn't quite live up to some expectations, which is good news because it meant that the firefighters battling these ongoing flames, well, they were able to at least get some good attack.
Yeah, and
24
the
deaths,
National Weather Service, with their
structures.
messaging, they've been on top of this forecast, emphasizing that the Santa Ana winds aren't done. This particularly dangerous situation goes until 3 o'clock Pacific time. And with that, the winds are Max Gordon in Malibu this morning, talking about how the winds are beginning to whip up there. Any new fires that might start won't have a problem spreading, but hopefully the personnel, the firefighters on the ground and the attack from the air will help if things do start to burn. Over a week, though, has passed since multiple fires broke out over LA. Santa Ana winds fueled those flames, spreading across over 40,000 acres, and we've had thousands of structures destroyed. The wind break that we've seen, that reprieve that Jane had mentioned, was good for the firefight, but we're in another hours of this. Let's bring in Fox Weather's Brandy Campbell this morning in Pasadena with that sun up. Brandy, good morning to you. Some of that damage, I mean, you can't help but look and just see what's behind you because row after row, businesses, homes, streets, churches, all alike receiving the same sort of damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good morning to you guys. Now that we have daylight here in the Pasadena area, we're able to see a little bit of the damage here that was done due to that Eaton fire. This one, the most destructive in Southern California's history. As of now, we're looking at the stats. In the past 30 or so minutes ago, they did release an update to the containment numbers, and now the fire is at 45% containment, and it has destroyed over 4,600 structures. But just going off of their surveys, it may be around 7,000 structures that have been damaged, but they do have to do on-the-ground confirmations of those numbers before that number is a final tally. But right now we are outside of a church that is the home of Expressions Church. They hold their services here on Sundays, and as you can see now, this church is among those structures that were damaged. It's been completely burned, and what's left is now the shell of this building. If we can take a short walk in, you guys can see the inside of this building has been, I mean, really completely burned to the ground. I mean, whatever was inside of this church, you cannot really see the resemblance of maybe the pews or the altar that really compiled what was inside of this building. So, I mean, it's devastating. This is a church home to many people.
How did the trees survive around it? Why is none of the stuff, why are none of the trees burned or affected around it? Isn't that kind of weird?
Thankfully, they're saying only one of the church members actually was impacted by this fire in terms of their home being impacted or, set to fire. So that's the good news. They're rallying around that church member. But what we are also seeing is the efforts that this church is also putting forward to help out their community during this time. While they are dealing with this and the loss of the items as well that they had inside of this church, they are helping people. They are taking part of a relief drive for victims of this fire, along with a couple of other churches, and all of that is powered by City Serve. And so during this time, they're serving their community while also being victims of this fire. It's very devastating, not just for churches, but you have schools that have been burned to the ground, libraries. So these main points of communities that people would come together. And of course, you have the homes that have also been impacted. So all around a terrible situation for the folks here in California, but we know the weather that drove these fires, it's not over. Some areas here in this region still under the red flag warnings with high winds possible going through tomorrow for some areas. Here in Pasadena, the threat not as high, but we could still get wind gusts in the 20-mile-per-hour range going through the later hours of today, guys.
Perspectives, Brandy, that we have with similar to what we saw in Western North Carolina and continue to see, that these local communities, churches, different outreach centers will carry such a burden and a load because a neighborhood has been burned to the ground. A neighborhood was wiped off the map because of the floods like we saw in the hills of Western North Carolina. It's devastating, but a lot of folks leaning on faith during this time of need. So that work, it's an important one despite the ruin behind you. Brandy Campbell, thank you for that, bringing us an update this morning from Pasadena, California with Now the Sun Up, Jane.
Yeah, but my it still got my conspiracy mind ticking, seeing look at that, all the trees around the building are not scorched or burned whatsoever. That's kind of weird to me. It starts me to thinking about, if maybe that church was set on fire separately from the fires that's been going on, because it's just weird that there's structures around that church that are not burned, trees that should have at least caught some scorching at the very least. They don't look like they've been touched. They look green as mess. So that's kind of weird for me, but it's just still a horrible thing. I've always questioned why there's homes in these fire region areas that are not, more suited for fires, more brick homes, the whole situation with the reservoirs being empty and the fire hydrants not having water. That's just it's horrible, and it's hard to fathom. It's definitely something that has to be answered for. Probably not at this time, but because these people are still in the midst of this situation, and they don't really have the time to divulge in all of the things that went wrong prior to the fires breaking out. So they just have to concentrate on not only putting out the fires that they still have burning and still will be burning, in the areas that are still in jeopardy. They have to concentrate on those type of things, and not really concentrate on figuring out why this wasn't correct or this didn't have water and such and such. So we just pray for those people out in California. We don't understand. It's going to be a hard climb. They say this is the worst disaster in California history, which is crazy to me. This is California. It's been around for a long time. So, but worst disaster. All those people are going to have to find homes. All the rebuilding that's going to be necessary. The time that's going to take to rebuild. It's you really start to get into the idea that some of these conspiracy thoughts might be true. Burning off an area that they want to build on, all of these type of things. All the facts that they have caught several people starting fires and with torches out there, trying to initiate big old fires in certain areas. So the devil comes out in these type of things, and we're definitely seeing some evil stuff going on. We haven't concreted what's really going on. We just don't have the time. Have to concentrate on helping these people. So let's just let's concentrate on that. Make sure our prayers are out to them. Make sure, if you can, support as much as you can so they can get what they need, because these people are definitely going to need a lot. Definitely going to need a lot. Church burnt down, so most places rely on these churches for the supplies when these type of incidents happen. And as you saw, that church lost all of its stuff. So it's going to be a hard time in the future for these people. It definitely is. All we can really do is pray for them. All right, let's keep going. So let's go. We're going to stay with the California fires and read a quick story about a guy and his car collection. This is the Car Concierge Show. But his classic car collection got devastated in the Southern California fire. So let's check out the story. It's on Yahoo by Stephen Symes, and it's from Monday, January 13th. The picture of all the destruction, all those classic cars just up in flames, and that sucks. While much attention has been focused on the lives, homes, and businesses lost in the fires raging in the Los Angeles area of Southern California, we want to shine a light on the loss of collectible cars. Not only have some modern supercars and other unique rides been destroyed, a new crew discovered a sizable collection of classic cars burned out in the Eaton fire. That collection was housed outside a destroyed house in Altadena. A reporter from KPIX correctly points out in the video, we've included that classic vehicles are just as important as a house to some people, and they can't be so easily replaced. After all, there are a number of pre-war classic cars in the collection, as well as a number of models from the 50s and 60s. While some still have their body panels whole, the tires, interiors, and other components destroyed in the blaze, at least one ride was melted to the point it was unrecognizable. We can't imagine the pain the owner of the classic car collection must feel or will feel seeing the devastation. That doesn't mean the vehicles matter more than life itself or the house, not only that they hold quite a bit of sentimental value. The reporter seems to have a better grip on the car scene than a lot of people, making us suspect she's a bit of a gearhead herself. She does say the photographer and her crew collects classic vehicles, so associating with him probably helps. But she understands these aren't just machines, but instead are things which bring people together and store many wonderful memories. All that is lost in disasters like this. We're fully expecting many more stories of car collections lost in California wildfires as they continue to rip through the Los Angeles area. You might even see your dream car left a smoldering, burned out hunk of metal and metalled plastic. All right, let's go and check out this video if we can.
Well, this morning, families in Southern California returning to the rubble in Altadena. This cell phone video shows what a family of four saw as they drove by what's left of their hometown. Former KPIX reporter and anchor Amanda Starnatino has been covering the fire since it started and surveyed some of the damage this morning.
A lot of people have nothing. So this weekend, I don't even think they can come back to their properties and even start the rebuild process. It's going to be a very, very long time until then. But I want to show you this picture here. Just look at this street. It's beautiful. These trees, you can only imagine what a beautiful neighborhood this was. But then the reality is every single direction you look at this intersection here in Altadena is destroyed. All these homes are down. These ones just lined with homes. And so homes, yes, they can be replaced. Those memories, though, hopefully people were able to get some photos, anything, keepsakes before they had to quickly evacuate here. But there's some things that you just can't replace. And this property really just caught our eye here. All these classic old cars. And I looked at the Google images of what this street looked like. This was a beautiful green car parked right in front. So this is a 1940s Chevy. It's got the old 3-spoke wheel. Those are hard to come by. The spare tire kit on it. This is like those old gangster cars you used to see. It has those suicide doors, so it opened like this. You can't replace this. You got another 1947 coupe right here. You can't even tell what this car is here. Just the fire completely took over it. But my photographer Mike looks back on that car back there. This one is pretty cool. It's a 1960s Lincoln Continental. This is like the car that President JFK rode in. That's like a convertible. really neat to see. Another Chevy next to it. We have some Oldsmobiles over here. You can tell by their front, very distinct. And then we have one more neat one that I want to show you over here. This is a DeSoto. It's a custom right here in front. And so if you look at some video that we showed you, my photographer, Mike McGregor, who's with me, he shot this while all of this was going up in flames. And he had to stop because he collects classic cars as well. And it's just devastating to see what people left behind. And, you know, the homes are so hard. And for some people, cars are just as important to them. So these important keepsakes that people really put their heart into, you know, memories are surrounded by these cars. People bring them to shows, they bring people together, and they're just left here. And it just looks like a Hollywood scene. And if you look behind me, this is a beautiful, huge home for people. It looks like it has a wonderful backyard, and it's now completely gone. And people can't even come back to even sift through anything, but there's nothing you can really take from this. There's nothing to salvage here, and there's nothing really to be saved. It's so sad. There's even still some smoldering here. Again, all these roads are blocked off to anyone getting back here. You have to be credentialed, and you have to be an essential worker or first responder to be back here. So no one really being able to come back to their properties. There's also been reports of people looting in here. So law enforcement is being very, very careful about who's coming back here. But for the homes that are still standing, which are not many at this point, but just the memories and just so much loss here in Altadena.
Wow, that was awesome. That was pretty awesome. That young lady knew her stuff. She walked around and showed us some really nice classic cars. Well, not nice classic cars. They destroyed. I mean, dang, the devastation is just horrible. I mean, it's definitely going to be more situations because it's California, especially out in that area. Lots of rich folk, you know, lots of garages full of classic cars probably destroyed. It's going to be horrible. The loss is going to be magnificent. It's hard to fathom, and it's extremely sad. You would hope that some of it was avoidable, but obviously not very much. Like I said, we still have to wait till we can get really a good idea on, why certain situations happened, why certain things weren't available to firefighters and people trying to save their homes, why this destruction is so widespread, and why it's still continuing, and they haven't had an ability to contain it. It's just crazy. So let's jump into some good news. This is good news. We find a story about a gentleman who decided he was going to park his classic car collection at a McDonald's and save them from the fire. Let's read it out. And this is from The Drive. Mystery man saves multi-million-dollar car collection from wildfires by parking in McDonald's lot. This is from Byron Hurd, and this is from Monday, January 13th. Yeah. An unidentified car enthusiast stashed a collection of high-dollar machinery in a shopping center parking lot to protect them as wildfires tore through populated areas in Los Angeles last week. The classics and modern exotics appeared on TikTok sitting outside a grocery store, CVS, and a McDonald's in Calabasas, California on Thursday as evacuation orders began to spread ahead of the multiple advancing conflagrations. And even with this video of the temporary homeless collection making its rounds online, which the original poster claims had already been moved when they were shared the footage, no serious leads about the owner's identity have surfaced or details about how they managed to shuttle the cars to safety. There are bigger celebrity hordes in Southern California, but any collection that includes a vintage Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing is nothing to sneeze at, and it's certainly not what you'd expect to see parked next to a shopping center after sundown. Nice neighborhood or not. Apart from the Gullwing, the other highlights of the stash include a Ferrari F430 and a Mercedes 190 SL convertible. It's unclear whether some of the more modern cars parked next to the collection belong to the owner or simply to curious onlookers. We'll give the owner credit for some quick thinking here. The parking lot provides a safe cushion from flammable structures not from trees, as we can see from the clip, and offers a degree of security just by virtue of it being so public. Anybody entering or leaving that lot probably passes in front of a half a dozen traffic or security cameras. Yeah. On balance, parking a valuable car collection in public may seem just as risky as leaving it in the path of an advancing fire, but this move tells us that above all, the owner would like to see these cars survive, and there's something admirable about that. Even if the owner's motivations were entirely selfish, or perhaps the product of feeling subtly and acutely underinsured. Sure, they could end up stolen or even stripped for parts, but in either state, they're still out there to be enjoyed. While the going may seem dear enough to command a full restoration even after consuming blaze. All right, cool story. So, and just, you know, we're definitely going to see more stories of the negative side than the positive side. You know, most of these people got out when getting out was good and didn't really care about these vehicles. Probably, you know, rich, don't care about no cars. So, but we will see a lot of car collections that are going to be destroyed. Several, you know, car collections that I know about in Calabasas, and you know, it's got to be car collections in Malibu and all those type of places. You know, rich people have lots of cars, so it's just one of those things. And you know, it's going to be lots of those damaged cars. Now, I will say this again. There's going to be some cheap cars that's going to come onto the market, and they're probably going to be smoke damage or other problems. So watch out. Just watch out. It's pretty common. Flooding, fires. You're going to find people that's going to grab these cars up that are not super duper bad. I just probably got smoke damage or something like that, and they just gonna fix them up real good, try to make them smell real good, and sell them to you for the low. So watch out for that. All right, let's keep going. So we always talk about EVs here. The electric vehicle revolution is upon us. So Norway is one of those places that wanted to get their jump on being the place that goes electric first. So, and they're almost there. They're right there. So we're gonna check that out. And I really don't foresee the American people or the U.S. going completely EV anytime soon, at all, really, because you know gas-powered vehicles are the junk. So, but let's check this out. See what y'all think. Alright, 9 out of 10 cars. 9 out of 10 cars sold in 2024 were fully electric in Norway. And 9% of new car sales in 2024 being fully electric from 82.4% in 2023. They've been on it. Only selling electric vehicles, not owning.
Norway will be the first country in the world to pretty much erase petrol and diesel engine cars from the new car market.
Norwegian EV Association.
It has happened really fast, and already more than 25% of all passenger cars on the road are fully electric.
Alright, I want to go back to that real quick. Alright. Just get out the way. Tax exemptions on EVs and high taxes on petrol cars have driven this shift. What does that tell you? That tells us that gas is really high in Norway, and they're giving a lot of tax rebates on their EVs, so they're fairly cheap to buy. Not extremely cheap, but still fairly cheap for Norway. And that's what's really pushing this EV revolution out in Norway, is that they're taking away people's ability to afford gas in petrol-powered vehicles and incentivizing buying EV vehicles. So they're just on top of it.
In other countries, you see that someone put in some incentives or some tax exemptions, and then they pull them back again. To do this and to sort of succeed with this, you need to sort of keep at it for a long enough time, and it's working. And I think the recipe that Norway has used, it's definitely transferable to other countries as well.
So they're saying the fully electric cars outnumber petrol-only cars on Norway's roads. Now, what that young lady was just saying is paramount to saying it's all about the Norway government incentivizing people to buy these EV vehicles and to do everything in their power to make it hard to have gas-powered vehicles. This is a government push. This is a complete government. This is not the Norwegian people decide, hey, you know, we think that EV vehicles are nicer. No. This is the Norwegian government pushing the idea that, hey, EVs are what we want to do, so we're going to help you save all this money and help you buy these EVs. And then on the flip side, we're going to make it harder for you to buy your gas-powered vehicles. We're going to make it more expensive, make the gas more expensive, and make it harder for you to afford your gas-powered vehicles. So this is a complete push by the Norwegian government. So for it to happen here, of course, what's going to have to happen? A complete push from the government.
Well, we still have more pumps than we have chargers, but as we see, there are coming more and more electrical cars into the market in Norway. Today, about 30% of all the light-duty vehicles are electrical. In just a couple of years, more than 50% of all the cars in the Norwegian market will be electrical. And of course, we have to ramp up our charging park according to that.
I changed to electrical car because of the environment. It's better for the environment, and the smell of diesel and cars on, yeah.
Oh, that was insightful. Why is that? See, we'll go back real quick. While most car buyers in Norway go electric, some tourists prefer petrol vehicles. Why is that? See, we still have a problem with EV vehicles on taking long times to charge, the ability to charge them. And if you're a tourist, then you don't have a home charger. That is one of the key things about EV vehicles is if you have a home charger, it's an easier situation. You have the ability to charge it overnight. The charge can last you during the day. If you're a tourist and you don't have the ability to charge overnight, then you're definitely going to be sitting at one of those charging stations charging for what, 35, 45 minutes up to an hour to charge this vehicle. So that's going to take away from all the time that you want to spend touring. So that makes sense that a tourist would want to be able to get a gas-powered vehicle so they can shoot to a gas station, 10 minutes in and out, boom, bang, bing, we out of there. So, and they're going to also bring up to the point where it's about rental vehicles too, and that's the same situation. If it's a situation where a person doesn't have their own charging station or the ability to charge, they understand that they're going to have to spend a decent amount of time charging these vehicles, specifically if you're out of town. rental companies, the same situation. They are buying combustible engine cars.
There's very few customers that really are then buying ICE cars, and some fleet customers are maybe the biggest buyers, like rental car companies having tourists coming into Norway. They are not familiar with the e-car technology. Then they need to offer them traditional cars so that they could go on the journey.
They're going to ban the sale of carbon-emitting car sales by 2035. Now, that's just the sale. They're not saying they're going to ban the ability to drive them, because they probably won't be able to completely ban that. But just going to stop selling gas-powered cars by 2035. What do you think that's going to do to the automotive market? You know, all this, because, I mean, in 2035, there's still going to be gas-powered vehicles being made by automakers, specifically the ones here in the U.S. And if this country decides and other countries decide that they are not going to purchase any more gas-powered vehicles, then that's going to put a major chink in the automotive industry. And we're talking about doing that here in America. Weird. Alright guys, that was interesting stuff. So, like, my whole thing is that I understand the move to EV vehicles. I understand desire to stop producing gas-powered vehicles. I don't see it happening anytime soon. I don't desire it to happen anytime soon. I don't think the world and the majority of Americans specifically are not prepared for it to happen anytime soon. We're slowly getting into it. A lot more people own EV vehicles. A lot more people have those EV chargers at home, or Teslas are all over the place, you know. And you know, EV is coming. It's unstoppable. It's definitely something, and it's a good thing. It's the cars are nice. You know, my whole thing is that don't have a desire to, you know, make long trips, because then you get into a situation where you're still gonna have to stop and charge up. And the biggest thing for me right now is that fast charging stations aren't really that fast. And a desire, you know, what company? There was a company, I want to say, I don't remember, but there's a company that is pretty much, you know, giving away the EV charging stations that you know take home with your electric vehicle. And that's going to be really the move. It's going to be a situation where those charging stations are going to be part of the price of the car, because they're a necessity. And you know, the charging facilities are going to have to come, you know, more and more frequent and more prevalent. And all of these things are going to continue to have to grow before we get into a situation where we've got to the point where we're all driving electric cars. You know, I'm always going to have a gas-powered car, and most of the people I know are always going to have gas-powered cars too. It's just, you know, one of those things. All right, so last but not least, Biden, a couple days away from leaving office, has decided that they're going to finalize some rules about the banning of Chinese EV vehicles and tech and the cars and the parts. And everybody really thinks it's just a stick it to Trump, but I don't know. Let's check it out. I'm going to check out the video, then I'm probably going to read it too, because it's an interesting read.
Jensen Huang, in visiting China this week as the White House announces new export limits on AI chips, the new curbs causing shares to sell off over the last several days here. How do you view these new rules impacting NVIDIA and other chip companies in the year ahead?
First of all, it's pretty unclear and it's unprecedented. And what I mean by unclear is the ruling relates to semiconductors that either are purpose-built for AI or are designed for AI. And that would put all gaming chips, for example, in that category. They might be primarily designed for gaming, but they're very much designed to have AI capabilities in them. And on the unprecedented part, you're looking at 120 countries, many of them sitting in the EU, like Portugal or even Mexico, that now have limits on that. And this is all going to be managed by a government agency. And I can't think of a worse thing for innovation and speed and revenue than having a traffic cop. I think we're all in on national security, but this is the wrong answer, and I fully expect the new administration coming in to overturn most of the onerous elements of this and maybe provide some clarification.
So then, Patrick, I guess then that would lead me to believe that the market's reaction might be a bit of an overreaction if you are confident that we are going to see a quick change once Trump does enter the White House.
I mean, 2 or 3%, and on NVIDIA, and NVIDIA was sliding based on the perceptions coming out of CES 2025. I think investors took it as a non-issue or a wait and see until the new administration comes in.
Okay, so all these things considered, how are these companies going to be navigating some of the international relationships that they've also communicated to investors is baked into some of their own growth anticipations as well?
Well, if this moves forward and it goes into effect in 120 days, unless the new administration comes in and squashes it or slow it down, is they have to hire a bunch of consultants to figure out how to manage that. There's a 128-page document that lacks a bit of clarity. And what they're going to have to do is every company is going to come up with their own strategy to deal with this. A lot of companies aren't going to have an issue because they have nothing to do with clusters. But when you look at AI clusters, but when you look at companies like NVIDIA and AMD, they're going to have to get, and even Intel, they're going to have to get very clinical on exactly how many chips that they can ship into a certain country. And I think the EU's response, that's typically pretty onerous and heavy-handed, they're even saying that this move is a step in the wrong direction and can potentially shift them in the hands of buying more from companies like Huawei, which is exactly the opposite of what this IFR is supposed to achieve.
All right, that was a little bit over our head, or over my head at least. I don't know about you. It was a little bit over my head, but
into the
heck? All right. I mean, okay. Let's see. We're gonna read this story too. That was a little bit over our head. They was talking more about the money than what we had planned. So let's read the story, and then I'm gonna get y'all up out of here. All right, White House finalized rules banning Chinese, Russian tech in connected cars. And this is from Press Supremaman from yesterday, January 14th. Just days before President-elect Donald Trump enters the White House, the Biden administration finalized new rules for cracking down on Chinese and Russian-made tech in connected cars, including cars made in those countries. The Commerce Department, Bureau of Industry and Security, BIS, along with the Office of Information and Communications, Technology and Services, found that certain technologies that appear in connected car features, such as internet connectivity integrated into a car's automated driving systems, and similar vehicle assist features, present an undue and an unacceptable risk to U.S. national security, the BIS said in a statement. The new rule prohibits the sale or importation of specific pieces of hardware as well as software for these systems from companies with a sufficient nexus of connection to China or Russia. The software-related prohibitions will take effect from model year 2027, and the hardware-related prohibitions will take effect for model year 2030 or January 1st, 2029 for units without a model year. OICTS said prohibitions on the sale of connected vehicles by manufacturers with a sufficient nexus to the PRC or Russia, even if manufactured in the United States, take effect for model year 2027. Wow. Connected vehicles yield many benefits, but software and hardware sources from the PRC, People's Republic of China, and other countries of concern pose grave national security risks, said National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan in a statement. Today we are taking strong action to protect Americans against these national security risks by safeguarding our critical infrastructure and automotive supply chain. The OICTS said it worked with automotive companies, suppliers, and other stakeholders to create the new rules beginning last March when OICTS proposed the rule. The rules also effectively ban Chinese and Russian-made cars that incorporate the technologies in question. This ban comes after the White House quadrupled tariffs on some Chinese EVs to over 100%. Automakers have been trying to push the timelines out as long as possible, as the companies need time to adjust their supply chains to remove hardware and software from these systems. GM and Ford actually build vehicles in China, the Buick Envision and Lincoln Nautilus, respectively, which will be impacted by the rulemaking. Volvo also makes the S90 sedan in China, as well as sister brand Polestar with the Polestar 2 EV sedan. Nonetheless, the Alliance of Automotive Innovation, AAI trade group, which represents a number of automakers, said the new rules and their timing are fair. The auto industry communicated our support for a final rule that addresses the unacceptable risks associated with information and communications technology and services designed, developed, manufactured, or supplied by foreign adversaries like China or Russia, said John Bozella, AAI President and CEO, in a statement. We also communicated, and the rule recognizes this, that the changing the world's most complex supply chain can't happen overnight. In this respect, the final rule strikes a good balance. The Biden administration has been cracking down on other technologies where they intersect with China and other adversaries, in addition to the flow of U.S. tech to China. Yesterday, the administration released an updated export rule aimed at controlling the flow of AI chips to adversaries such as China. Alright, so, you know what this is, guys? You know what this is? This is the TikTok thing. That's all this is. This is the TikTok thing. And it's very precise. I understand it, and I'm behind this. Because what they're saying is that all of the software, information, and technologies that are being put in these cars that we've been buying from China and Russia could be infected with malware and other entities, Dieselgate, that could cause changes in the vehicle, sending out communication information. A lot of these systems are being updated over the airwaves. So that being said, of course, if they have systems in them designed to collect these information from the airwaves, they can be easily messed with, easily altered, easily manipulated. They could create communications problems, whereas China or Russia could be listening into Americans as they drive their vehicles, specific Americans, the president, cabinet members. All these entities could be affected by these systems because they're designed to do, most of these systems in abhorrently are designed to collect data. That's what the majority of these systems are. They collect data and they problem solve. And so all of these ADAS systems, and my thing is that this is a good idea and we should be making these things in-house. Buy American. Once again, you know what I feel about this. You know, and it's a good thing. It's going to, in some ways, force America to not only hire and train more people who could build these systems for us, who could create these systems for us. We need to strengthen ourselves by training ourselves on being a place where we can do all this in-house. And that's the goal. The goal is to have the ability to do this all in-house and to avoid entities like China and Russia to use these systems that we need from them against us in any way, shape, or form. And the really truth about this is that we have to understand that the U.S. has figured out to some degree that China and Russia have been doing things to weaken us to the point where if they decide that they want to go to war with us, they'll have all of the information that they need. These systems can send them that information. We've been sending them mad information through systems like TikTok and all these other things, censuses, the amount of people in certain areas, all these type of things are the problems that they're having with the idea that China controls TikTok. So this is kind of why TikTok is going away. And this is just a broad stroke of the same ideas that they're having on stopping the Chinese and Russian folks from getting information from us to use it against us. And it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a necessary thing. I think we have to control the import of these things. We have to some degree monitor what we're putting in our vehicles and what they can do, what they can control, what they can communicate, and what they can destroy. All right, let me get y'all out of here. I've been way over my time limit, and I appreciate y'all for checking out the show. My name is Chris Surratt. Please like, share, subscribe. Hit me in the DM if you got any ideas to make the show better. Tell me if it's worse. Whatever. I appreciate it. And I'm out of here. Y'all have a good day. Peace.